Judge Dyer, my name is Paul Lipton. I am a member of the Standing Committee on Professionalism of the Florida Bar. We have a program in which we are interviewing the judges and lawyers in the state of Florida who have and are making a substantial difference, not only in the practice of law, but in the life that we are living here. And you are one of those people that has been clearly considered a person that is making this difference. So we would like an opportunity to spend some time with you and to learn about you and your philosophy. So good morning.
Good morning. I'm delighted to be here with you.
Thank you, Judge. Judge, can you first give us a little bit of a historic background of your education and the different occupations that you have had over time?
Be glad to. I was born in Columbus, Ohio. I went through school there and to Ohio State University. Took 2 years pre-law and 2 years law there, and then decided to come to Florida to practice law, so I took my last year at Stetson and graduated in May of 1933. I couldn't get a job, so I put out my shingle for 2 years, and then I joined a two-man law firm where I stayed until I went into the service in 1942 and spent then until 1945 in the Judge Advocate General's Department attached to the Air Force, with my overseas being in India. And when I was released from the Armed Services, I came back and went into practice with a firm, Smathers, Thompson, and Maxwell at that time. And I stayed with them until 1961, when I was complimented by the President to serve on the United States District Court for the Southern District of Florida. And by almost happenstance, I became the chief judge in 1962 and remained in that position until 1966, when I was appointed by the President to the United States Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, which at that time encompassed Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Texas, and the Canal Zone. And we had a heavy docket, especially when the school desegregation cases came along. I remember one year on the Fifth Circuit, in addition to the regular work that we had over 150 school desegregation cases. But it was a wonderful court, very collegial, some of the best legal minds I've ever had the opportunity to serve with. And it was a real experience. And then, of course, when the circuit was divided, I elected to go with the 11th Circuit, which, of course, comprised Florida, Georgia, and Alabama. And I have been on that in that position up till now, except for taking senior status, which I did in 1976. So I've been on the court a little over 35 years, and I must say I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Judge, during this period of time, as a lawyer and as a judge, are there certain people that you considered your mentors that helped you or assisted you along the way?
I think my first mentor was my father, who was a lawyer and who imbued in me, I think, at an early age, a sense of feeling responsible civically for what goes on in the world. I had the highest regard for him, and that was my early training, which I appreciate very much. I think other than that, the person that meant most to me when I first went on the district bench was Judge Choate, who was the only other district judge at that time in the Southern District of Florida. And he gave me an insight into what he thought and what I now believe to be the fundamental process of justice. He was a very considered, polite, thoughtful person. And he made me feel, as I did as a lawyer, that the judge has to be courteous. He has to keep control of his courtroom and the process of the law. But there's no reason to ever become obnoxious with the lawyer. I still remember the days when I was practicing law, even though it was a long time ago. And I know how lawyers feel when they're presenting a case to a judge. And I've never forgotten the fact that it's necessary for a give and take in a courteous way to accomplish the ends of justice, which of course is what we're all seeking.
Yes. Judge, are there certain, I'll phrase it this way, certain core beliefs that you have held over the years that have kept you in balance?
I think so. I'm not a religious fanatic, but I have a deep feeling for religion. Not any particular branch of the religion. My wife happens to be a Catholic. I'm a Protestant, but I go to the Catholic Church with her. And it really doesn't make much difference to me whether I go to the Catholic Church or the Jewish Church or whatever church. It's the feeling that you have that counts. I think everyone, judges and lawyers, have a responsibility to contribute to bar associations and to seminars and other ongoing activities in the realm of the profession. They have a duty to support those. I think that the bar in general, while it's not like it used to be because of the great advance in not only the breadth of the law, but the number of people that are involved in the justice system. But they're by and large good people. And I enjoy going to the federal bar luncheons and hearing the speakers. I go to the Dade County Bar Association meetings. I certainly go to the Florida Bar. And it seems to me that all of that is a part of what we should be doing.
Judge, let me segue into that then. Do you believe that there is a difference between ethics and professionalism and how one handles oneself in the practice of law?
I certainly do. I'm reminded that when I was in law school, if anyone had referred to the practice of law as a business rather than a profession, they would not have graduated from law school in my time. It was a profession. It was not a business. Unfortunately, that has developed over the years into a realm that I think is too bad. I'm a very strong believer in the professionalism of the bar and the judges. I think that we have neglected in law schools the teaching of ethics. I think that the feeling today is that when you come out of law school, you have to put in a certain number of hours to get a certain amount of money, and that overshadows, in some instances at least, the necessity of having a professional viewpoint about what you're supposed to be doing. Yes. And I feel very strongly about that.
Over the years, have you seen a change, whether it be good or bad, in the profession of law, how judges and lawyers are treating each other and or the profession itself?
I think so. When I first went on the bench, I had the feeling that the lawyers were a little reluctant to be seen with me, or converse with me, isolate me, and that sort of thing. And I think that's not so today. I think it's much better today. I have many, many good friends that are lawyers, and I cherish their friendship. And I think the attitude of the bar to the judges and the judges to the bar has changed. It seems to me in the older days when I was younger, everybody was afraid of judges. I mean, I wouldn't converse with them. I was scared to death of them. And I don't think that feeling prevails today. And I think it's much better.
Is there certain things that you would like to tell younger lawyers, since we have an opportunity here today to do that, that you would like to instill in younger lawyers about the profession and about what you would like them to know about the profession they're going into?
I think of two things probably. Number one, be courteous and understanding about your opponent in any case. That doesn't mean that you shouldn't be aggressive and that you shouldn't fight hard for your principles and the result that you wish to achieve, but you can do it on a high plane. You don't need to get into a personal affray about a point of law or a case or however you're proceeding. In addition to that, I think that some lawyers, and I hope it's a small percentage, and I think it is, really don't work hard. They don't prepare their cases. If you're going to be a success in the practice of law, number one is to be prepared when you go to court, whether it be in the trial of a case, argument on appeal. Whenever you're confronting a legal proposition, you have to be prepared. And with a modicum of success that I had as a lawyer, I think it was due to preparation. I never felt uncomfortable when I went to court for lack of preparation.
Is there something that you would want to share with your fellow judges as far as your thoughts about the profession and things that you would like to see done on the bench that is either not being done or should be done more?
I can't answer that question because of this. On the Fifth Circuit and on the 11th Circuit, I have never had a more collegial feeling toward my fellow judges. While we don't see eye to eye in some of our cases and decisions that we make, it has never entered into the personal field. And I have felt more comfortable with the judges on both circuits than I can explain to you. I have had the most delightful, wonderful existence on the bench that anyone could have. And I fortunately hold all of my fellow judges in the highest esteem.
That's wonderful. Let's talk about law schools then for a moment. Are there any thoughts you would like to share with the law schools as far as what you think they should be doing, other than what you've indicated already about more in the area of ethics and teaching ethics or the law as a profession, that they should be doing that they're just not doing right now?
Well, let me start off by saying that I am amazed at the capacity and the legal responsibilities that the young people have when they come out of law school. And my exposure to that, of course, is through the law clerks. I'm continually amazed at their ability to grasp legal points, concentrate on where they're going without getting caught up in the byways, and their background, their legal training is just unbelievable to me. I've had probably 30-some law clerks during my tenure on the bench, and with only one minor exception, my law clerks have been absolutely wonderful. And of course, that is one of the real great benefits of being a judge, is to have young people who have good minds around you. And I've been so fortunate in that respect. As far as the law schools are concerned, I really haven't had that much exposure to their curricula. But as I say, the young people that I've had an opportunity to be with that have come out of law school seem to me to be well-versed in their educational background.
Do you think that there should be a formal mentoring program of some kind, either in law school or immediately after law school? In the medical profession, there's an internship. Do you think that we need something like that, or it can be done realistically?
Well, yeah, I would think it would be a good idea, particularly because of my experience with my law clerks. They get a tremendous wealth of information and exposure to the law when they work for a judge for a year. They see how this end of the judicial process works, and it's an invaluable experience. But of course, that's a very personal relationship too. But I do believe that, and I think they are encouraging law students now take a more active interest in associating themselves on a nonprofit basis with some section of the judicial system. I know our magistrates, for instance, have a summer program where they take young lawyers that have just graduated and almost make them interns for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. And I think that kind of experience is invaluable. I know when I got out of law school, I'm not sure I knew how to get to the courthouse.
In your view, has the number of lawyers affected how lawyers treat each other at all now as it was years ago?
Oh, no question about it. When I started practicing law in Dade County in 1933, there were 350 lawyers. We knew each other by name, first names. We had what was then known as rule days, which was the first Monday in each month when the circuit court, state circuit court, heard arguments, oral arguments on motions, and when property was sold at auction and that sort of thing. And it was a great day. We'd go down there and spend the day. and maybe there would be 40 lawyers there ready to argue their motions first Monday of each month, and you got to know everyone. And there was no such thing as written stipulations. If you wanted an extra 10 days, you picked up the phone and asked for that. And if anyone didn't live up to their oral agreement, it spread like wildfire. And that lawyer was then ostracized. So it was a very easy, very great life. Today, that's impossible. I suppose there are 4,500 lawyers in Dade County. So it's not possible to have that relationship that we had back in those days. That was a good relationship. It was wonderful back then.
How do we recapture that if we can? Do you have any thoughts about how to recapture that?
Well, I don't think we ever can. It's an evolution just like everything else. But I think that the programs that are being put on now by the bar associations, the Federal Bar, the Florida Bar, Dade County Bar, goes to some degree in that direction. I mean, you get to know other people if you go there for lunch or for a session. You meet new people, and I think that helps a lot. But we can't go back to the old days because that's gone.
We do need, though, a consciousness raising as to that we're all in this profession together and we all make a difference in this profession.
I agree entirely. I think the emphasis ought to be on that point of view. In the law schools, in the bar associations, in our interrelationships, we ought to all feel that we're here for one ultimate purpose, and that is to provide a system of justice that is equal and is applicable and is available to all people.
I've asked this question of a number of people that I've had the honor of interviewing, and I'd like to ask you also. If you had a magic wand to make any change, either in the practice of law or the profession as we know it now, how would you use it? What would you want to do as far as the practices today?
Well, if I had a wand and I could do it, I think I would probably think that lawyers would have to understand and fully realize their duty and their responsibility, not only to the courts, but to the public and to the benefit of the community. We're so busy today that we can't give enough time to do some of the things we should be doing. I'm not thinking only about pro bono work, which is a wonderful thing, but it seems to me that the public perception of the lawyers and some judges is not very good and probably is well earned. I think we could do a lot more than we're doing to give the public and the lawyers and the judges a centrist feeling that we must be doing things for the good of the people and not just for political purposes or monetary purposes or all this that we read about in the newspapers every day about the failings of the system in one way or another. I think we have a long way to go to improve.
Judge, focusing on and taking a lead on what you just talked about, on the state court side, What are your thoughts about merit selection or merit retention or life appointments of judges in the state court system adverse the elective process?
I am very, very interested in and would promote the idea of merit selection. I think it's just too bad today to have an electoral process where a judge has to stand out on the corner with a sign, vote for me. And it's also bad because they have to raise money from lawyers that appear before them. Every time there's an election here for the state court judges, friends of mine call me up to say, who should I vote for? And I say, I can't tell you. I don't know a state court judge. I used to go to the Dade County Courthouse and knew every state judge that was down there. Today, that's impossible. I don't know how many we have, 65, 100. And that's the wrong kind of way to select judges. We need to have some way that the public knows whether a judge is performing or not performing. I'm very much in favor of the Dade County Bar Association's evaluation process.
You are?
I am. Because at least that gives the public, who 99% never get to court, never see the inside of a courtroom, gives them some perception of whether a judge is doing his job or not. And I think it's necessary. I'm very, very much in favor of merit selection.
In the area of what it was like and what it is like now in the practice of law, I want to go back to that for a second. Other than just the sheer number of lawyers that there are, is there any other thoughts you have as to why the practice has changed so much and gone from what a profession to a business, which we're concerned about that?
Well, if you're asking my perception of the reason, I think it's because of the tremendous overhead that lawyers have to bear today. Back in my early days of the practice of law, rent was fairly cheap. Secretaries were cheap as far as the salary is concerned. And I walk into some of these law offices today, and their overhead must be $1 million a year. And that's before they make any money. So the necessity for per hour charges and all this is just increased unbelievably. And I think if you have to carry an overhead like that, you just simply have to make more money, and that's more competition, and that lends itself to a business rather than a profession. And it's just evolved that way, and that's not only true in the practice of law, it's true in everything.
Since lawyers...
Excuse me, Mr. Lipton, I have to make a tape change.
Okay. Thank you. Judge, we've spent about a half hour talking about your different thoughts and views on life and the profession of law, and I really appreciate that. The sense I have is that you believe that we have a duty and responsibility as lawyers and judges to society in general.
Right.
And we should be involved with all kinds of civic duties so that we have a sense of our goals and responsibilities in our community.
Absolutely.
Are we doing that enough now?
I don't think so. I find in my own sphere, while I make it a point to go to the luncheons of the bar various bars, and to some of the seminars. I still have not, I kind of feel like I've kind of lost touch with some of the law profession. Maybe it's because I'm kind of isolated in what I do in the Court of Appeals. We don't have the contact that you have on the district bench, which I enjoyed thoroughly. For 5 years, I just had a great time being the district judge. And I felt for the first 3 or 4 months that I'd made a mistake when I went on the Court of Appeals, because no one ever called me. I never saw anyone, and I was out of the flow. But of course, the challenge was the great thing on the Court of Appeals. But I don't think we, as judges at least, and that's where I've been for 35 years, I don't think we get quite enough contact with lawyers, generally speaking. I have so many good friends that are lawyers that I enjoy being with. And that's another reason I like to go to their functions, the Bar Association functions. Because if you don't keep in touch, you lose a perspective that I think is necessary to be a judge. And I have never been criticized for going out and playing golf with the lawyers or going to luncheon with them. And I think it's necessary. I really try to do it.
Judge, you have handled so many interesting cases over the years of you being on the bench. I know you mentioned the school desegregation cases. Are there any cases that you handled over the years that you take more joy in what you've done than other cases?
Oh, I think so. We get quite a few run-of-the-mill cases. And I don't say that in a derogatory way, but I mean they are cases that are not too hard to decide. The tough ones are the ones that are fun, because they are the ones that make you work and get to a point where you think you've arrived at a proper decision. And I've had my share of those. I can't single out any particular case, but a judge gets the same satisfaction as a lawyer does in one respect. If the lawyer wins his case, he's happy as a lark. In fact, I remember when I was practicing law, if I'd see an advance sheet of a case that I argued in the Court of Appeals and I won it, I would read the opinion carefully. If I lost it, I'd just look at the last page. But the real pleasure that I've gotten out of being a judge on a great court is to decide a case that is tough and then have it go to the Supreme Court and be affirmed on cert. I get the same pleasure out of that you get out of winning the case, because I thought I was right, and now I know I'm right. It's interesting, yes, because even after all the time I've spent at the bar, almost 64 years, you would think in that length of time that you ought to know most of the law. And I don't. Every day there are new points of law that come up that have never been decided before, that raise great issues and that are interesting. And as we spoke before when we were wandering around the floor, I still get a kick out of going to the library. Yes. I love to look at law books. I get a certain feeling out of reading a case that I cannot get through a computer or any other way. It's just fun for me to get into the library and dig through a research of the points that I'm interested in.
Judge, we've spent a little over a half hour talking, and I've asked you some specific questions. To kind of put a little bow on this gift from you to us, is there anything that you would like to share with us, just some general thoughts of any kind or nature that you would like to share with the people who are going to be watching this? And the people who are going to be watching this are going to be law students and lawyers and bar associations and law firms, etc. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us that either expand upon what you've talked about or that I just haven't covered?
Well, I think we've really gotten through a wide range of subjects. I'm delighted with this program. You're kind to have invited me to have this little chat with you. I think this kind of thing should be more widespread. I'm always, and even more so, delighted with what the bar associations are doing. The Florida Bar, to me, is just a great asset in this state. I read the magazine, I read the publications, I try to go to their annual conventions. I think they're doing a great job. It made me feel so badly when I was on a panel that decided that the Florida Bar was wrong in their program about solicitation after 30 days. And I was so pleased when the Supreme Court reversed us and held that the Florida Bar was within its legal right to do what it did. I mean, things like that are very progressive. They make the bar and the judges appreciative of what they're doing. They do a great public interest situation. And my only thought, Paul, is that this kind of a program, not that I'm on it, but this kind of a program should be very beneficial. And I appreciate your invitation to have me with you.
Judge, thank you very much. It's an honor for me to share this time with you and to preserve your thoughts for all of us. And I can only wish you the greatest of good fortune and good health. Thank you.
Thank you very much.